And we're live, finally we're live. I know 16 minutes late, but you know what? Good things come to those who wait, and if you think that, don't wait too long. So everyone, hi, I'm ALL the Cryptic Hybrid, and this is today's live stream, a very special live stream, because we're gonna talk with Francisco Gonzalez from Grundislav Games about his latest title, right? Lamplight City. Hi Francisco, hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm, as you can see, pretty hyper, although I did not have coffee. That's it's
Well,
like super hyper, but that's, you know what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me.
Give me about 10 minutes to
It's
finish mine, and I'll get more hyper.
Oh, that's fine. You know what? It's the thing with interviews. It's so scary to get like the first steps, like to contact people. I don't know why that's just me. But then when it actually happens, it's like so energetic. So everyone, for those of you who don't know, Lamplight City is well, a point-and-click adventure game that's coming later this year. But you know what? Before we get to talk about the game, let's talk about its creator. Francisco, tell us a few things about yourself, and you can skip your favorite adventure games part.
Well, let's see. My name's Francisco Gonzalez. I am an independent solo game developer based out of Brooklyn, New York. I specialize in point-and-click adventure games. This is my third commercial adventure game. Before this, I released 2 games with Wadjet Games as publisher. One was the one before this was called Shardlight. The one before that, the first one was called The Golden Wake. Yeah, I mean, I make adventure games, and that's what I do. I find it really hard to talk about myself.
For a living?
Yeah, I've been really lucky.
I guess
I've been extremely lucky in that so far I've been able to do this as my full-time career. Like when I started making the games, like, you know, it all really depends. Like it's a niche genre, but there is a market for it, thankfully, and excuse me. Just to warn anyone who's watching, I have a little bit of a cold, so I'm probably going to be coughing and clearing my throat quite a bit. But yeah, I've been really lucky to be able to do this, and hopefully I'll be able to continue doing this. So that's part of the reason that I'm so, you know, and eager to get out there and hype up Lamplight City, because you know, more people buy this game, the more possibility I have to continue doing this as my career. So that's kind of the dream.
well, that's, you know what? That's a pretty good dream, considering adventure games have been declared dead since the late 90s, which is
Yeah, that's
a
kind of a
crime in
narrative
itself, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it's a narrative that keeps
It's
on
so annoying.
happening.
Yeah, it's so weird, and well, maybe we can talk more about the genre specifically, but it's maybe because they're not AAA titles and it's not LucasArts, but damn it if I haven't seen so many amazing adventure games in the last 18, 20 years, so I don't know where the fudge that is. It's just, okay, so it doesn't
Absolutely.
sell as good as Fortnite.
I think what a lot of people,
you know, it's...
yeah, I think what a lot of people forget is that adventure games were never AAA titles. Even during the golden age, you know, Sierra and LucasArts, they did okay, but they weren't necessarily raking in millions and millions of dollars. I mean, you also have to remember that they were releasing, not so much LucasArts, but like Sierra would release 3 games a year sometimes, because they had so many different series happening at the same time. You know, LucasArts, I think they released Day of the Tentacle and Sam and Max in the same year, which is pretty amazing if you think about it. But yeah, I don't think those games were like multi-million-dollar sales for them. Obviously, that's kind of what went into the decline of the sales of adventure games. So I think people have this sort of sense of nostalgia, and they think that, oh wow, the golden age of adventure games, they were the most popular genre and they sold so many copies. But it's not so much that they were popular, sure, because more people were making them, but you know, through many factors, including the advent of the internet and being able to go online and look for hints and stuff, they just kind of declined in popularity, in mainstream popularity. So anyway, that's my soapbox on that.
Yeah, no, okay, I totally agree. I don't think adventure games were ever the spearhead of gaming.
Mm.
Right? There was definitely an amazing genre, right? But it wasn't like, I mean, Dune is like Dune 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the RTS, and then you can go for StarCraft and something. But in terms of, the adventure game, sure, you can have games from multiple developers, but it's not like there's not one that kickstarted this whole thing. It's not like
Well, I mean,
PUBG started and then everyone wants to make it.
I would argue maybe that like the King's Quest games were pretty important as far as showcasing new technology. Like the whole, around the era of King's Quest 4, when sound cards were becoming more affordable and people could get sound cards. That was kind of like, the King's Quest being Sierra's flagship series, they were always the first one to get all the money in the budget for the new technology. Like they were the first ones to go into like the change from the parser system to the point and click icon based, and like the first ones to go into the 256 color VGA, and like they always used King's Quest as sort of the showcase for the new technology. And then you have games like The Seventh Guest, which isn't strictly an adventure game, but it definitely contributed to CD-ROM popularity, because I remember that people were buying CD-ROMs just so that they could play The Seventh Guest because it looked so cool and it was such a technological marvel. So too, I think they had a point. They had a specific period where they were kind of being used as the showcase of new changing technology. But then other games with 3D, when 3D came around and 3D became the big thing, adventure games didn't really translate to 3D very well. So
yeah, we never really got anything until 98, 99. Then again, there were a few titles, maybe in 98. When was I don't remember. But yeah, the genre was never dead, that's for sure. It's never been dead. It's just, you don't get as much publicity, I think, and I think that's a crime, because there's so many. And, well, maybe we can talk about the Adventure Jam a little bit later on. But now, Lamplight City, sell everyone who's listening on it. Why do they have to have it?
So Lamplight City is a point-and-click detective game. I would call it more a detective game than an adventure game, because it is a game that focuses primarily on the detective aspects of being a detective, if that makes any sense. It focuses on investigation, interrogation. There's no inventory. There's no inventory combination puzzles. There's no, silly like, use this on this to make a obscure tool to get this thing. Because, in my opinion, that doesn't really have a place in a detective game. At least one that's kind of more grounded in the idea of doing actual detective work. And the sort of unique selling point of this game is that it's okay to fail. Because most detective games that I've played, including LA Noire, Sherlock Holmes, Crimes and Punishments, I love those games, by the way. I should specify that I think they're fantastic games and I really enjoy them. But the one thing I noticed is that they really go out of their way to make sure that you get things right. Like in LA Noire, for example, even if you fail every single interrogation, which I did on purpose when I was researching this game just to see what happened, the game will still give you the information that you need or the clue that you would have gotten from the interrogation just in some other way. So I was really interested in the fact that these games were kind of just pushing you along no matter what. And I thought that kind of creates this sort of disconnect between the player and the player character, because if you're playing as a detective, ideally what you want is to kind of learn about the cases and gather the clues and stuff at the same time as your character is doing it. So if your character is a few steps ahead of you, you're kind of like, oh, well, okay, I'm just kind of guiding this guy along or this lady along, and I'm not really doing any detective work. I'm just kind of clicking on things. So I wanted it to be possible for you to, if you miss a clue, there's consequences. If you talk to a character and you insult them, they're not going to be as forthcoming with information, And so I I split the game up into multiple cases. There's an overarching story, and the cases themselves. There's 5 cases. They each have multiple solutions and possible suspects to accuse, and you can reach those conclusions by the different leads that you investigate. And so it's kind of like in the older adventure games. You had like the 3 trials sort of system where you were working towards a goal and you had different ways of different puzzles to solve to get to those end goals. It's kind of the same concept, except it's possible to close off those leads. And if you make a mistake and close off a lead that would lead you to a particular suspect, you then can't accuse that suspect. And if you close off all your leads, then that means that the case becomes unsolvable, and then you declare the case unsolvable. But then you just move on to the next one. So I wanted you to be able to just, if you're a really bad detective, you can be a really bad detective. But of course, the story will change based on that. If you don't solve enough cases, then you'll see the consequences of that. So yeah, that was my goal with Lamplight City, and that's why I think people will find it interesting and why you should buy it. Excuse me.
Good pitch. That's okay. So, quick question from Mickey in the chat. When did you make the game? Well, it's still technically being finished. How long did it take you? Yeah. How long did it take you to build the game up until where it is now? So when did you start, basically? When did you start?
Yeah. Well, I released Shardlight. We released Shardlight in March of 2016, and at that point, I had already kind of gotten the idea and started jotting down notes and stuff. But I think I actually started building the game itself in about May of 2016. So yeah, it's been a little bit over 2 years.
Okay, that's a good amount of time. I bet you can't wait to see it out. No, it's just eventually it's like, yeah, let's ship. So just because this is one of the right taglines that you can fail in Lamplight City. So what would be, let's say, an example of the worst type of failure? Let's say you accuse someone who's actually innocent, and you do have some clues, but it's maybe circumstantial. And what happens? Are they, is there a trial? Do you get to see how your case is proven wrong? Or what would happen?
Well, what I wanted to kind of avoid was flat out saying, oh, you picked the wrong person, or hey, you picked the right person. I kind of wanted to make the revelations of your things a little bit more organic. So it really depends on who, because, like, for example, I mean, I don't want to give specific examples because I don't want to give any spoilers, but I guess I can kind of give some...
Hypothetical.
Yeah, I'll give some slightly specific examples that you'll get because you've played through the preview build. So, like, if you, let's say, you accuse the wrong person in... Let's say you have suspects A, B, and C in case 1, and you accuse suspect B because you think that they're the person that did it, that committed whatever crime we're dealing with, but in reality they weren't. So you accuse them, and let's say in case 3 you're following a particular lead, and you happen to go to a location where suspect B's uncle works, and you run into them, and they're like, "Hey, you're the guy who accused my niece of this crime that she didn't commit. You've ruined our lives. Get out of here." And then you're not welcome there, and you can't investigate that particular place. That's one example. Another thing is maybe you accuse, in case 1, you accuse suspect C, and suspect C is the correct person. And then later on in case 4, you meet suspect C's brother, and they're like, "Oh, you, or actually, I'm sorry, not suspect C's brother. You meet someone for whom suspect C, or you meet somebody who is related to, or somebody who worked for suspect C, and they're like, "Oh man, my life has gotten so much better because this bad person got put away. I'm going to talk to you and give you more information that I wouldn't have given you otherwise." That's kind of what I was going for. But like the worst scenario is if you if you fail too many cases, if you declare too many cases unsolvable, you get a premature sad ending and you don't actually get to do the last case. So there's something for completionists because there's an achievement if you get that ending.
Okay, I was thinking, like, I'm sure they won't, like, just sue you for slander, right? I mean, that would be, because that would be,
No.
in my thing, that the worst case, it's like, yeah, you accuse too many people, let's investigate you for being, shoddy work, and, you get, I don't know, sued, you have to pay a lot of money, you don't have the money to pay, and then it's like, yeah, Miles is
Yeah,
in
no,
jail now for 20
yeah.
years.
Well, there is an ending where Miles ends up in jail, but I'm not going to tell you how to get that one.
Right? I don't think I want to get that one. It's like, poor guy.
I know. And I feel bad for him too. But yeah, that was one of the things too. Like in Sherlock Holmes' Crimes and Punishments, if you accuse the wrong suspect on purpose, like you'll get an angry letter from their relative or something. But that's it. There's no real consequences. So I kind of wanted to make the consequences a little bit more visual.
Mm-hmm. Well, it would definitely be very evident, right? If you maybe, talk in a not so respectful way to a suspect or anyone, right? In one case, and then you need their help in another, and it's like, yeah, I know who you are. I don't like you. I'm not gonna help you, and that closes off some possibilities. That, that's definitely, you have to be careful with how you manage, talking to people and what you say to them.
Sure, yeah.
Right, because it all kind of, well, hopefully it's all intertwined. I like to think that I'm not sure because I haven't seen obviously all the cases, but I like to think that there are a lot of characters that you will see in multiple cases. So it's a very kind of tight knit group.
There's a few. There's not too many because I didn't want to make it seem like, oh, this is, supposed to be a big city, and yet you run into all the same people over and over again. But there's a few instances where you run into a few characters a couple of times, or more than once, I should say.
Right. So another quick question from the chat: does the game have secrets? If it does, how many? Well, maybe I'll give the number, but does it have any secrets?
I mean, what would you define as secret? You mean like Easter eggs?
Yeah, I'm guessing something like that, or yeah, probably. I'm guessing that.
Well, there is one Easter egg that I'm convinced nobody is going to find because it's like ridiculously obscure. I'm kind of curious to see if anyone will find it. I'm not going to say anything about it because I want people to find it on their own.
Right.
So yeah, there's that. But everything else, I mean, there's not really any sort of like crazy Easter eggs. Like there's no hidden rooms or secret places to find if you like click on a book 17 times or something like that. There's what I like to do and what I tried to do is for like the more out of the way actions that are not necessarily Easter eggs, but like little fun things to do. I have some achievements for doing those things, so it kind of incentivizes you to, if you want to get all the achievements on Steam or on GOG or whatever, you can, go out of your way and do those things.
Yeah, click everywhere, do everything. This is an adventure game. Pick up everything. Well, it doesn't have an inventory, which is really weird because as I grew up, I thought that every adventure game out there has to have, puzzles where you combine a bubble gum with a piece of tape with a frog's eyes and a lizard's tail, and you make some sort of contraption that helps you.
It sounds like a witch's recipe.
To me, it's weird. Yeah, it does, but it's actually it's such a weird thing and something that I'm not a fan of when it comes to adventure games, and I like that Lamplight City doesn't have that. It's this idea that you have to be some sort of MacGyver, right? And you have to know how certain things get combined in such a weird and unnatural way, because it's not a natural way usually. And it's like,
that's just one of the things that I dislike the most about classic adventure game design is just that sort of moon logic with weird puzzles. Also, by the way, Mikkel, if I'm pronouncing that right, I have the chat window open, so you can ask the questions.
Oh, okay.
I can see your questions. You can ask them directly if you like. But I see he's asked if this is the only game I've been working on. Yeah, it is. It is the only game I've been working on for the past 2 years. I did everything in this game, so that's been the focus of my attention for the past 2 years. Everything except the music, of course, and the voice acting. I directed the voice acting, but I didn't perform the voices. That would be weird.
Well, for Lamplight City 2, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to do the music too. It's like, you wanna be indie,
I'll do it on the kazoo. No, are you kidding me? I love my composer. My composer is amazing. Like I'm really happy with the work he's done on Lamplight City, and I'm keeping him as long as I can before he hits the big time, because I'm pretty sure it's not going to be long before he hits the big time and goes on to bigger and better things. And I always tease him, and I'm like, oh yeah, someday you'll look back and be like, ew, adventure games. Why would I don't know. But yeah.
I mean, you have to start somewhere, and adventure game.
That would be the worst.
Yeah. Well, come on, you can do voices. At least a couple. I mean,
yeah, but once you
get some friends around.
Yeah, if you start talking to like the old lady, then that's when it would go downhill, because I would just revert to my Terry Jones Monty Python voice, and that nobody needs to hear that.
Oh, is that okay? Is that a bad thing? I mean, I don't know.
I mean, it's just ridiculous falsetto, like "ow, hello" sort of thing. So yeah, it's terrible. Do my best Homer Simpsons. I have a best Homer Simpson voice.
Yeah, there's like this. Yeah, it's okay. You're gonna improve on. It's fine. You're gonna improve on your voices. Lamplight City 2, fully voiced by Francisco. It's fine.
No.
Like all the absolutely more characters, one voice. It's gonna be amazing. The music too, just you. So we're gonna talk about the music maybe a bit later, but because I want to focus at least right from the relatively beginning on the world and on the setting, and obviously on the inspirations that you've had for it. So just go ahead. How did you get to 1844 first?
That was interesting, actually. When I first started designing it, it was going to be set a little bit later in like in the 1860s, but for one reason or another, I ended up setting it in 1844. I can't remember now why I did it, but well, Mikkel, I didn't even try. I'm sorry. I'm getting defensive here about my Homer Simpson. It was terrible. It's pretty bad. It's not my strength. Anyway, yeah. So it's one of those things where I've been working on this game for so long that there's certain details that I forget how I came up with them or why. But well, not so much why, but like exactly how. But I know that I wanted to make a game that was set in the 19th century, and I knew that I wanted it to be a detective game, but I didn't want it to be just like a straight up Sherlock Holmes ripoff or anything like that. So the original idea started with me wanting to make kind of like a dark, sort of macabre tone detective game. And that's why I drew inspiration from Edgar Allan Poe and Charles Dickens and that sort of tone. I actually had the idea of making it more supernatural when I started. Like there was I had the idea to have like a case where this lady comes to see this lady comes to see you and asks you to solve a murder, and it turns out that it was her ghost that came to see you, and she's asking you to solve her murder. But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I feel like that sort of thing has been done already. So I wanted to keep it a little bit more grounded in reality, and like the only real sort of supernatural element is, or potentially supernatural element is the hearing your spoilers for anyone who hasn't played this, but this guy we're seeing in this video here, Bill in the purple, he's not going to make it out of this case, and we're going to start hearing his voice. So yeah,
it's his fault.
You hear your dead partner's voice, and that's kind of the only real supernatural element. I wanted to have it in this setting, but then I didn't want to like be completely beholden to historical accuracy, because I mean I've made A Golden Wake was very, very much like I tried to be as historically accurate as possible, and I think the story of that game kind of suffered as a result a little bit. So I wanted to have a believable world, but I also wanted to kind of have my own world where I could have my own rules and not have to worry about, being anachronistic or anything. So I decided to set it in an alternate timeline and in a fictional city, because I didn't want it to be, well, this is London, or this is 19th century New York, or this is New Orleans. So what I did was I took elements from all three of those cities that I liked the best out of all of those cities, and I combined them together to make one city called New Britannia, which is Lamplight City. Lamplight City being the nickname of it, kind of like, New York is the Big Apple. Well, New Britannia is Lamplight City. And so, yeah, I figured that having this fictional world would be just more fun to play in. And so I decided to just go crazy with it. And so not only is it a fictional city, but the idea is that the United States of America is not the United States of America. It's the Commonwealth of Vespuccia. It's still a British Commonwealth, which is ruled by the Queen. And it's not Queen Victoria, though. So it's like it's just alternate history. And so I also, it was suggested to add steampunk to it, which I did to an extent. I didn't want to make it like overly steampunk. I didn't want to make it like people walking around with like prosthetic mechanical arms or like goggles and top hats or anything like that. I wanted to kind of present this sort of fantastical steampunk-ish world, but have it be more like a background thing. Like it's this emergent technology that some members of the population are embracing and really excited about, but a lot of people are afraid of. So it's kind of like parallel to the real Industrial Revolution, where you had people that were going around smashing the new machines. You have people like that in this game, but it's slightly more technologically advanced. So yeah, it was just that was kind of my main thing. And also I feel like it kind of that sort of setting lends itself well to detective games, and also to detective adventure games in particular, because I mean, depending on how complicated you want to get, like there's not a lot of modern conveniences afforded. So like I didn't have to worry about
DNA,
DNA,
fingerprints,
smartphones, or stuff like that. So it feels a little bit more. What's the word I'm looking for? I guess more charming in a way.
Deduction,
like you're
right?
It
like, is charming.
Yeah, you have to like rely on your wits and kind of, not worry about, I can just Google this or whatever. So that's, I don't know. There's a certain appeal to that.
Yeah, I agree. It's this, because when you have, well, there were some CSI games too. It's like modern thing. Okay, we're gonna lift up this fingerprint. We're gonna check it to the database, and voila, we got our suspect. It's back then, right? Because obviously, in the 19th century, they didn't have any technology like that. People who were actually detectives and in the police, obviously, their job was incredibly harder. Because you had to, read cues better. You had fewer clues that you could analyze. There was more hearsay, and all that. So I think that deduction part that a detective needs to have was amplified, or the need for it was amplified because of the restrictions on, how much scientific analysis you could have had. So it's like, you ask enough people questions and, you will get the truth, right? You don't have a polygraph. You don't have surveillance cameras or anything like that. So that's, I agree that it's a more romantic view of, being a detective, when you actually had to, it's your brain. It's Poirot, right? I mean, he sees the things. It's like he can't really do. So that I really like that. And I would agree that this time is a pretty good one for, it has some common elements with today, but it's not too advanced that it's like, yeah, it was just too easy that I just had to check this thing. Oh, there was some dirt. Let me analyze where the dirt comes from and crap like that, which is fine for modern games, but it reduces your, intellectual exercise.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit
That's how I see it.
there's a bit in one of the cases where you have to do a chemical analysis, but it's nothing too complex. It's just finding a thing that matches another thing. So, but it's
which is very basic, right? It's not like this strand of DNA is from a Caucasian male that's like between 40 and 50,
right, and it's not like this is pentatholoside flacbiopolo or whatever. I'm really not good at making up chemical names on the spot, am I? It's nothing like I'm suddenly a genius at chemical analysis. It's just very basic. Like, oh, the color changed and this one changed to the same color. They must be the same thing.
Yeah, it has to be intuitive and of that time, basically, which is kind of a theme from playing your game. It's like, this is of that time, and attitudes and discrimination and all that. Maybe we can talk about that too. So let's talk about the main character, because obviously he's the focus. You're playing him. Tell me a little bit about him. Did you take any inspiration from a specific, maybe literature figure or anything like that?
Miles? So the main character is named Miles Fordham, and he is he's a detective. He's a pretty straight-laced, by-the-book kind of guy. And as opposed to his partner, Bill, who is Bill Legere, who's kind of more of a fun-loving kind of just... Like, he's still serious about the job, but Bill is kind of like the comic relief to Miles's more serious nature. Miles is very much like, I have to solve the clue, or I have to solve the cases, I have to pick up the clues, I'm going to interrogate the people, etc. Bill is more like... He's kind of the more emotional center of the two. Like, there's a couple of comments about how Bill kind of picks up on emotional cues and sub kind of things that people, subtext of what people are saying better than Miles does. So Miles is just kind of like, he's your standard detective guy, but then his world kind of gets flipped upside down after Bill dies, and he starts hearing his voice because he doesn't know if he's actually being haunted by Bill's ghost or if he's just going crazy or what. And he's figured out that the only way to keep Bill quiet for long periods of time is to take this sleep medicine. And as a result, he's kind of like out of it and kind of dulled. And after the events with Bill, he resigns from the police force and becomes a private investigator, because that's really all he knows how to do. And so he has a friend in the police in the police force named Constance Upton, who is kind of giving him these more sort of under the radar cases, like stuff that she feels he can handle, but isn't going to be really too like mainstream for that the police are going to notice that someone else is doing it. So he's kind of battling this problem that he's having. He wants to solve cases because it keeps him busy, and also because he figures if he just sits around at home with Bill talking all the time, he's going to go nuts. But Bill has told him that in order for him to move on, he needs to find this guy who's responsible for his death, or who he feels is responsible for his death, who we'll see shortly in the preview that you're showing here.
Just a shadow. We're just going to see a shadow.
Yes, we're just.
It could be John Cena. We don't know.
It could be. Yeah, it could be.
Could be Jack the Ripper.
It could be anybody. It could be anybody. So yeah, Miles kind of his motivation is that he wants to find this guy, but he doesn't have any leads. So in addition to taking these cases because he feels that it'll give him peace of mind to keep solving cases and help people get closure, which is what he's looking for too. I guess he feels like he's going to be living vicariously through them getting their closure. But he also does it because he feels like maybe by solving these cases, maybe he'll get some sort of clue or some sort of lead to track down this guy. So in addition to that, his marriage is kind of on the rocks because he hasn't told his wife because he's afraid that if he tells her, she's going to think he's crazy and leave him. So there's this sort of this growing rift between him and his wife because she knows that something is wrong, but she's frustrated that he won't tell her. So yeah, the game kind of focuses on Miles's not only solving the cases, but also Miles's personal story and kind of figuring out how to best handle his life and where he ends up and how happy an ending he gets is completely up to you, the player.
So what about the interaction with Bill after he passes away? Is that something that the player can, maybe ping pong with Bill, or is Bill more of an observer that offers some maybe clues or comments that can help the player, or is it?
Yeah, Bill is.
Can the player engage with Bill, with the spirit, at least with the voice?
Not directly. Like there's no you can't start a conversation
Summon
with Bill
him.
you can't like not in the prologue where you can just click on him and you start a conversation with him. He's not that's not how he's basically acts as the game's narrator. Like anytime you click on something, Bill will offer his comments, and sometimes Miles will chime in, and sometimes they'll have arguments. Like I always thought it was funny, I guess, but it worked more in comedy games like in Space Quest 6 or whatever. You had certain points where you had the main character, like Roger Wilco, would get into arguments with the narrator, which was kind of a little jokey, break the fourth wall thing. But I thought it would be interesting to actually have that as a serious thing where the narrator is the voice in Miles's head, like literally the voice in Miles's head, and when he's talking to him, it's not because it's haha funny. There's this, you're playing a game where there's this voice. It's he's actually physically responding to this voice that he actually hears in his head. So it's kind of more of a sad thing than a funny thing.
And would this interaction, right, the presence of Bill, right, because he's there, he talks, and you hear his voice. Will the player see an effect on Miles's, let's say, mental state as the game progresses? Is that voice not leaving him, always being there? Is that are we going to see anything?
Yeah,
like
you'll definitely see an arc in Miles's way of dealing with him and how the effects that it has. Like I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, like I said, he's right now, as we see him now, 3 months later, he takes his soporific, and Bill is kind of nagging him to stop taking it because it's affecting his ability to solve cases. So what I will say is that he stops taking the soporific at one point, but then he finds another way to keep Bill quiet, and that has an effect on things. So yeah, we'll definitely Bill's continued presence. We'll see how it affects Miles's life.
And I'm guessing that's gonna trickle down to maybe his family life and the cases too. Like that's gonna be
more his personal
impactful
life and his family life, and his relationships than the cases themselves, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So let's talk a little bit about the cases. So there's going to be 5 cases in all.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Are you going to be able to take on multiple cases, or do you have to do them in a sequence?
Yeah,
in a linear sequence.
Yeah, it's a linear sequence. You can't be investigating more than one case at once because that's way too complicated for one person to code. And I think the story just flows better if the cases happen in order.
And what types of choices does the player have in terms of his personal life? Do you have a specific input that will, I'd rather do this at this point in time, and maybe talk to Abby or say something to Bill or anything like that? Do you offer the player any choices when it comes to dealing with his closest people around him. Not the cases, not the
Yeah.
NPCs in the cases, but specifically.
Yeah, there is sort of one major choice later on in the game. Um, but again, I don't want to get into too much detail to spoil it. But
Right.
yeah, there
Okay.
is there is
Yeah.
one
Right. Sure.
major choice that you can make that will affect Miles's personal life towards the end of the game.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, you can make mistakes in cases, obviously, right? That's, you said that,
Yeah,
but, you can make many mistakes in personal relationships. Because if you
exactly.
make a
Yeah,
mistake with some random guy, that's not going to help you in a different case. And, okay, fair enough, it happens. But,
yeah.
the impacts on making a bad choice when it comes to the voice in your head or, your wife, that's going to be obviously more impactful.
Sure.
But okay,
If
so can you?
If
Yeah.
Miles insults some random person on a case, then yeah, they'll have an effect. But if Miles insults or betrays one of his close friends or relatives, yeah, it is definitely going to be more impactful.
One thing that I mean, I debated how important that is, but obviously you don't tell me the discrimination that's seen in the game, and
Yeah.
the class divide, the racial divide, the sexual divide, the gender divide. Is that
hmm
is that something that you want to maybe emphasize, or is that a product of the setting? It's
I'd
like
say
it's the
it's a little
19th
bit of
century. You
yeah.
hmm.
It's a little bit of both
So go ahead.
because obviously, I mean, yeah, like you say, it's set in the 19th century, and even though it's this alternate world where there are these technological advances, there's still social problems. I didn't want to gloss over the idea that there was, it's not a magical world where these terrible social problems don't exist because I feel like that's just unrealistic. I didn't want to go,
Hmm.
super hardcore and be like, oh, well, this is going to be I didn't, I'm going to make an intense political statement. My girlfriend will probably
Right.
yell at me for saying that because she's very much into like how games, no matter what, you're making a political statement. And sure, yeah, I am. But, I'm making statements and I'm presenting, you know, issues and stuff, but it's not really the main focus of the game. I mean,
Hmm.
it just seems like if I were to gloss over it, it would be doing a disservice to just the idea of proper representation. Um, and I
Hmm.
mean, I'm all about representation and diversity in games, and I think it's important. And I was really intrigued by how it was done in Assassin's Creed Syndicate. There's so many Assassin's Creed games, I don't remember the subtitles.
Yes,
Um,
there are way too many.
yeah, but the one that was set in Victorian London, at any rate, which obviously
Hmm.
was a big
Hmm.
inspiration. Um, and yeah, I mean they dealt with some social issues, which was interesting. And of course, they also sort of sugarcoated some things. Like they made it so that as Evie, she was a lot more accepted as a woman in society than she might have been really historically. But whatever. Um, so yeah, I definitely wanted to give a excuse me, give a taste of that, but not beat people over the head with it. Like in the first case,
Hmm.
as the one we're dealing with now, there's a rich Creole woman who is attempted to she it's an attempted murder case. She's almost buried alive. Someone has made her appear dead so that she'll be buried alive. And the person accused is this young mixed race young man who the rich white son of the Creole woman accused. And they throw him in jail without question and are not even going to bother to give him a trial because they know that his mother practices voodoo, and so they figure, oh well, they did black magic, case closed. So Miles
Hmm.
has to investigate to see if that's actually the case or if that's not the case and he's been falsely accused. And so,
And you can,
that it does form sort of the basis, the social basis of the case, but it's not like, it's It's just my attempt to be realistic because that's that seems entirely possible. I mean, we see it in our society today. That so I kind of it just feels like something that would happen. Actually, I actually dialed back a little bit because originally in my original design, 1844, it was going to be there was still going to be slavery, and or slavery had just been abolished, like right before in the years before the game, and like Madame Dupre, her thing was that she was now paying, like her servants in her manor used to be her slaves, but she's now paying them because slavery is legal and so whatever. But it felt like there was a few too many things happening at once. Like there was the whole class divide thing and the steam technology thing, and to add slavery to that was just a little bit too many things in one game. So I kind of dialed that back. And yeah, there is mention that slavery existed at one point, but it happened a lot earlier. And so Madame Dupre now, instead of hiring her former servant or her former slaves, now the idea is that she hires servants and she doesn't make them use steam tech, and so that's why people are sort of attracted to working for her, because the people that are afraid of of using the steam tech machines don't have to worry about it if they work for her.
And I think, I mean, just personal, I'm not. This world is crazy enough as it is. Well, parts of it, because
Sure, yeah,
that's how it works. It's not the whole world, but I really liked how you made it that you included all of these, but it wasn't, again, it didn't seem forced, because you see a lot of stuff that's forced. And in this case, like you said, obviously back in 1844, if a white person was accusing a black person, due process wasn't exactly the biggest thing on the people's minds back then.
Exactly.
Obviously, it's not this. I think it's totally different now, but that's something else. But it makes sense. It really makes sense. So yeah, of course you wanna, and mixed race couples and all that. Obviously that's of that time, and I like that it's not again in your face. It's treated, it's there, or like the guy in the cemetery. Like for me, it was a little bit of a shock, but it's like, he's a Southern guy who doesn't like my black wife. Actually, you know what? That's not a big shock given the fact that it's 1844. He's probably a Democrat, but that's something else. Like that's something else that people will talk about. I'm certain he's a registered Democrat, but that's something else. But I like that because, first of all, it was a shock, and it was a shock, right? It was a shock for the 2018 me, right?
Right.
Because someone comes to you to talk to you, to ask you something. That's not the reaction you have. But then, wait. Back then, people would have reacted like that. Some people would have reacted like that.
Yeah.
So I really like that.
It was kind of a fun opportunity to kind of subvert the whole distraction puzzle idea. Like, instead of being like, oh, hey, he's going to fall for this distraction, the scene kind of goes another way. And it's a very ugly way that it goes, but you still get the
it's so satisfying.
Result. Well, it's ugly in the way that, like, you are made aware that this is a thing in this world and this is a way that people feel and whatever. But, it doesn't go how you'd expect. It doesn't, hopefully, it has a sort of a satisfying conclusion, but it serves as a double purpose to, kind of turn the whole distraction thing on its head, and also point out this thing that exists in this world, and then just kind of give you a different resolution than maybe you were expecting.
Yeah, it was definitely surprising. It was I don't know, that scene was definitely, I think, really nicely set up, and it's like, oh yes, exactly, that's what Miles should have done. It's I'm not gonna spoil it, people can see it in the live stream from Monday, but it was a really cool thing, and it just gets better and better every time you see it. But anyway,
thank you, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
No, it really was. It was like, It was yes, exactly. That's exactly the attitude. Even back then, right? That's I mean, hashtag no violence and stuff like that, but
Right.
it's when your wife is being insulted like that, it's like, you kind of have to step up.
Sometimes you just gotta make
But anyway,
choices.
yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I would say that it's the problem with that statement is who's the racist, because right now
Yeah,
everyone's racist. I'm not
that's
like
true.
in this day and age you could be the blackest, most Muslim, most gay guy ever, and they would call you racist, homophobic, and Islamophobic. Although you would
Yeah.
be black, gay, and Muslim. That's the problem with today. That's the labels. I mean, obviously actions speak louder than words, but people use more than words. So that's the problem with today. It's like everyone can be everything. So if everyone can be everything, you have to be careful who you punch.
Probably a
But
can
that
of
guy
worms we
definitely
don't wanna
deserved it.
open. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So let's get back to Lamplight City and
Yes.
how you're gonna go around it. Are all the cases going to be set in Lamplight City, or are you going to go anywhere outside of it?
No. They're all set in Lamplight City. Actually, each of the four cases kind of the idea that I wanted was to kind of show the four different boroughs of the city. Because you have Lyon, which is the sort of fancy. Well, you'll see the map screen in a moment, and I can
Yep.
show you
I have it
the.
up now. Yeah.
I'm a few seconds behind. So yeah, you have in the top
Yes, it's
corner there, you have Lyon, which is like the fancy rich people area. You can see it has like all these open parks and stuff, and like that's where Parliament is, and there's a big park. And then you have Worcester, where Miles lives, which is kind of the top bit there, which is kind of like Brooklyn, I guess, in a way, which is it's just kind of like the working class, um, the sort of sort of middle working class area of town. And then you have Gascon down in the bottom, which is sort of like the New Orleans French Quarter type. Like there's the docks and that's kind of like the port area, and that's where the cemetery is, and you have like it's kind of like the fun loving rowdy district. And then you have Chumley across the river there, which is kind of like the isolated district, which you can only reach by ferry, or I guess by train at this point, because you can see the Black Railroad track there. And Chumley is sort of like the crummy part of town, like the Whitechapel, sort of industrial, just cloud of smog hanging over. And so I kind of wanted each of the first four cases to be set primarily, or start at least in one of the boroughs. So like the prologue, starts off at a flower shop in Chumley. This first case, the Dupre Manor, is in Gascon. So the first case is Gascon. The second case starts off in Lyon at these rich people's mansion. The third case is in Worcester in a lady's apartment in Worcester. And the fourth case is in front of a bar in Chumley. So you have those. And then the fifth case, you kind of have to go all over the city for all of your leads, because there's multiple things you have to investigate. So it kind of comes full circle, and you get to explore the entirety of the city at the end.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes, whoa.
Sorry, my phone.
That's a phone.
I have to,
it's fine.
Yeah,
it's okay. It's okay.
Silence it.
It's okay. So, when it comes to going around the town, how much freedom do you have? Like, can you go back and forth with everything? What can you do? Like, in terms of movement, in terms of players' movement.
I mean, it's got a map screen that you move around locations in, and as you go investigating, more locations will open up, and you can go to different locations. And if you've done everything you can at a certain location, it'll close so that you don't have too many open things, because as the cases go on and more leads arise and things become more complicated, my goal was not to have the player just be completely overwhelmed by all the places that they could go. So if you've done everything, if you've found everything and done everything at a location, it then disappears from the map. But yeah, you can just go around freely as long as the locations are open per case.
Mm-hmm. So it's a back and forth. It's not like, oh, you can talk to someone there, then you can go back in 5 minutes. It's not. It's not as linear, right? As maybe other games that kind of take you from one scene to the next and the next like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, like right now you're talking to Upton and she gives you the brief on the case, and she mentions that the guy that's falsely accused is at the jail, and she gives you his home address, and then she gives you the address of the Dupre Manor. So you then have 3 locations that have opened up, and you can choose to visit them in any order you want. It's not like you have to go to the jail first and then to the manor and whatever. You can. There is obviously, there are different bits of information that you learn at each place, and you might have to learn something at one place before being able to access all of the information at another place. But yeah, the order in which you choose to investigate,
that's something to discover.
Yeah, exactly.
I like how. So tell me a little bit about the case book, and maybe how did you decide to make it? It's like, this is the one place where all the information, the objectives, the clues, they're all in one place. Why did you go with that?
Well, it was a combination of the fact that one of the criticisms that I've seen in a lot of adventure games, a lot of my own games as well, is that sometimes it's not exactly clear what your goals are. And I figure that in a detective game, that's kind of the most important thing. And also, while it is kind of a cool thing when games make you need to write stuff down, a lot of players don't like that. So I thought it was important to have a place where you could write down or keep track of the most important information that you collect. So I wanted to make sure that, if you picked up a document, it was stored in your documents tab in your casebook so that you could reference it and reread anything that you pick up again at any time. Same with clues and your objectives. It was important to know that to have an objectives list so if you quit the game and you come back, at least you can sort of review what you've done so far, and just always have a clear idea in mind of what you need to do. So that was basically the reason for it. And also because, most detective games have a case book, or they have some way of reviewing the information. And so, yeah, so like I didn't want to, like the first Gabriel Knight had a thing where he would tape record every conversation so you could go back and review them. But obviously, 1, tape recorders don't exist in this world, and 2, I was way too lazy to code some sort of like transcript thing where you could review all of the conversations. So instead what I did was I just took the most important bits of each conversation and just stored them either as clues that you could review or as objectives. So
yeah. I don't think that Gabriel Knight thing is the most. It's like, yeah, people kind of left that behind. It's like, it didn't really work that well. I don't think it was.
It requires you to just like go through the entire conversation looking for that one little piece of information that you might have missed, which I think is just easier if you just have that piece of information.
Yeah, and it's more natural, right? Whenever you listen to a conversation, you have a clue. You focus on specific things. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna have a full transcript and I'm gonna memorize everything in this conversation. No, you memorize key things. The clues you put down. It's how people work. They're always going to use tools, and those tools are words, clues, whatever they are. But they're very specific things. It's not like, yeah, the full conversation. Let me go from start to finish, see if I miss something. It's like, no, I'm gonna put down the stuff in the beginning. So yeah, I really like that. It's not too over the place. It doesn't let you guess too much. It's like, okay, I found this. It's here in the casebook. I can go back to it if I want. So that's pretty. I think that's logical. And it's interesting to have something because there's no inventory. It's like there's no inventory, but here's the list of clues that I have, and I can always make connections based on them, and maybe I need to go talk to someone about a certain clue and so on and so forth. So I think that's it's a nice overview of what you have. Now, speaking of overview, I don't know if that's a bad segue because it's not about overview. Tell me about the game's engine, because again, before we start, I told you that we're going to talk about technology a little bit.
Right.
Adventure Game Studio. Why exactly this? In addition to well, you're familiar to it. That's familiar with it. That's for sure, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's one
I
thing.
mean, basically, that's basically my only reason is because I know how to use Adventure Game Studio. I've been using it for 17 years, and rather than take time off to learn another engine, I decided to just start making another game. Um, I mean, Adventure Game Studio does what I need it to do. I have yet to design a game that's outside of the scope of what AGS is capable of doing. So until that happens, I'm perfectly comfortable continuing to use AGS. And, I mean, this game is a little bit of a step up because all the games I've done before have been 320 by 200, and this game is 640 by 400. So my next game is probably going to be 1280 by 800. So yeah, it's not like a lot of people. It always frustrates me when people say, "Oh, it's a limitation of AGS." There's no real graphical limitation to AGS. I mean, the reason that I do low resolution and pixel art and stuff is because it's not that it's easier, but it's just more practical for one person to do. I mean, it's not. I mean, I've been working on this game for 2 years, and I've had to do all the backgrounds and the animations and the portraits and everything. And, if it was more asset intensive, it would take me 5 years. And I just don't have the time to. I mean, I'm pushing it enough with 2 years between releases. So, yeah, I mean, Adventure Game Studio it's free to download. It's still being worked on because it's open source. And I mean, it has its issues, as any engine does, but that's really all I know how to program in. And like I said, it's what I know how to use. And if you want to make a 2D point and
Right.
click
You have your
adventure game,
workflow.
yeah, I have my workflow. I know the ins and outs of it. I know. I mean, that being said, there are still things that it does that I'm not entirely sure how to do. I had to get some coding help for one of the puzzles of this game because it was just beyond my coding abilities. But yeah, I mean, it's just, it's what I feel comfortable in. I know how to put a game together in it, and I think that's the most important thing.
Can I ask something about them? Because it kind of struck me later on after playing it. This I don't know if it's a divide, but it's definitely a contrast. Yeah, contrast is a contrast between. So we here, for everyone who's watching, it's the cafe. There's a certain visual style, pixel art, detail, but not maybe overly detailed. That's you don't go crazy, and that's a good thing. But when it comes to talking to people, right, when you actually go into specific one-on-one conversations, you have the models, the NPC, the player model, and they're animated, and obviously they're higher resolution, right? Higher detail. Why did you choose to do that? Couldn't you just have? Well, it obviously would have been easier to just list a few things, but why did you decide on that screen, the one-on-one screen?
Oh, you mean the close-ups for the character portraits?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, because I mean, I like having character portraits in game. I think I mean, it feels more intimate if you're talking to people and you see their facial expressions and stuff. And I thought, for a detective game especially, that would be important because you're obviously interrogating a lot of people. But as far as why I chose for it to be a black screen with just the faces. I mean, that's me basically just ripping off the aesthetic of the first Gabriel Knight game, which was a big influence. And I think it works well because, I mean, it makes you focus on the characters and their faces. Because if it had been, if it had been the character portraits over the backgrounds, then, it would have just been, you wouldn't have focused on them necessarily as much. So I thought it was important for just those close-up scenes, since there is such an emphasis on it, to have just the characters there.
And do you give players any, let's say, small clues with the expressions that you have for various NPCs?
No, not this isn't LA Noire, unfortunately. Like they have their little
Okay.
they do their little like side eye or they get angry or whatever, but that's really just more to
That's a
emphasize the.
sign. That's a sign.
Yeah, yeah, no,
That's
it
that's
can be.
thinking about the lie. I'm sorry.
No, it
Yeah.
definitely can. It can be it can definitely be a tell, but it's not like you
Mhm.
yourself have to make a conscious effort to read those emotions to say, "Oh, this person's lying," because I think it's kind of
Mhm.
difficult to get that across as accurately in 2D.
Well, I think that in certain cases, like in Lamplight City, I think it was, well, it wasn't exactly that, you can read someone's expression and say, oh, he's guilty or he's lying, but it's for me it was definitely, that's kind of a weird way of looking while I'm asking, or he's talking, or she's talking about something. So maybe it
Right.
would make for further investigation, not specifically, decide on something one way or another, but
Mm.
maybe a little bit of suspicion. It adds, to that. And I really think, especially when you talk to people who are, on your maybe guilty list, then I
Hmm.
think, I don't know. I really like the small kind of changes in expression, and again, it didn't make me decide one way or another. But it's like, oh, maybe I should look into this person more, or I should ask more about how this person did this, or the relationship in that. So I don't know. I like the one-on-one thing.
Yeah,
I'm a
my main
victim of
goal with it was
society.
immersion. Oh, sick chicken studios.
That's-
That's Nathan Hamley, who's working on a great-looking game called Guard Duty, which you should totally check out. And he's making a
I
Monkey Island
think I've
reference.
heard of
Thanks,
Guardity.
thanks, Nathan. There's no breath mints
Okay,
though in
Nathan,
this game.
just email me and we're gonna talk about Guard Duty. I think I've heard of Guard Duty. This name sounds familiar. Is it like a
Yeah.
play on words? Like it's not exactly guard. It's like it's not GURD duty. It's
No,
something
it
else.
is.
Like it's
It
written something
is.
else. I don't know. Oh, okay.
No, it's
Hmm.
written as it's pronounced Guard Duty. It's just it's
Oh,
sort of a
okay.
medieval slash cyberpunk game, which is an interesting combination.
Oh,
Medieval
okay. That's
fantasy
been interesting.
and also cyberpunk. I think there's time travel involved. I'm not exactly sure, or like dimensional travel or something. But I'm not the one to
How
ask
much do
about
you know
this.
about this game? Seriously.
I
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
only know what he's told
Okay,
me.
so okay. Well, I'll definitely actually let me write it down. So, tell me a little bit about the music, because you said that you're really proud and happy with it. The voiceover, I think that's amazing that you have so many. So tell me how the theme, the musical theme of the game, if there are any changes when it comes to the different areas, and how the heck did you get so many people to voice it? Because that's amazing and that's always great in an adventure game.
Yeah, so the music is composed by a composer named Mark Bennis, he is local here to New York. I met him at I met him after a game award show that's put on by an organization here in New York called Playcrafting a couple of years ago. I was just kind of telling him about like the what I was working on and the kind of musical style I was looking for, and he said, "Oh, I'd love to like talk about it because that's what I'm into." And I said, "Okay, cool." So we got to talking. He showed me a couple of his samples. I asked him to score the prologue, and I was like, "Okay, yeah, great. Let's work together." And it's been great. Like he's done an outstanding job. I kind of told him that I wanted to go for just sort of a dark, mysterious feel, and he's really he actually cited Bernard Herrmann as a primary influence. Bernard Herrmann being the composer who Alfred Hitchcock worked with on several of his
Hmm.
movies, most famously Psycho and Vertigo and not The Birds because The Birds didn't have a musical score. Um, but Bernard Herrmann also did the score to movies like Taxi Driver and The Day the Earth Stood Still and I've always really loved Bernard Herrmann. And it's funny because some of the people that have listened to the music are like, "Oh, this reminds me of Danny Elfman," which I guess more people would be familiar with as the
Yes.
Tim
Yeah.
Burton composer.
Yeah.
But one of Danny Elfman's
Mm.
biggest influences was Bernard Herrmann, so it all goes to the source.
Mhm.
But yeah, I really like what he's done with the soundtrack. Like, I feel like the score to Lamplight City is unique in that it sounds like it works as a game score, but it also kind of sounds like a film. Like, it's some of the tracks sound like they would be in a film, and it just adds so much to the atmosphere and to the mood. And I'm just really happy with how it's turning out. Um, and as far as the voices, I've worked with a casting director on my two previous games who has also worked with Wadjet Eye, Shelly Shinoy. She's local here to New York, and she has a wide net of voice actors because she also teaches a voice acting class. And so she has a lot of students and she has a lot of people she's worked with. So when she handles the auditions, she sends me the auditions and I listen to them and pick the character or pick the actors and stuff. And yeah, this time around was a challenge because this is the biggest game I've ever worked on. It's got the most amount of dialogue and the most number of characters. I think there's something like 70 speaking roles. And so the challenge was the challenge was to cast the game without going extremely over budget and hiring 70 different voice actors. So in the end, I think we had about 21 actors. So I had to divide up the character. Like, obviously the four main characters, Miles, Bill, Adelaide, and Upton, are all played by just one actor apiece. But for all the NPCs, I had each actor play about 3 or 4, in some cases up to 5 and 6 characters. But what helped was the fact that the game is divided into the separate cases. So I tried to distribute them in a way such that you wouldn't find the same characters in the same case, or you wouldn't find the same voice actors voicing 3 or 4 characters per case.
Different characters. Yeah.
Right. Although I did realize the other day in editing a few things that in case 3 there are 2 actors who are voicing 3 characters each. But I feel like they're doing they do such a good job
they
of
sound
versatility. They sound different enough that I don't think it's going to be immediately obvious. So there's that. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. We recorded the voices over a period of 2 weeks. Back in December and January. It was about 60 hours of raw audio that I'm just now getting close to finishing editing. After this interview's over, I have to go and finish the last character for the portrait dialogue that I then have to lip sync. So that's going to be fun. But yeah, it's fun. It's working with the voice actors is fun because you finally get to hear the dialogue brought to life, and it's just really exciting to do that, and it's just a lot of fun.
And it saves so much when it comes to streaming. It's can't believe how annoying it is to. Well, it's annoying. It's funny. I'm kidding. This is like a streamer problem, like first world streamer problems, right? To have a game, especially an adventure game with a lot of freaking text, and it's like, oh, there's no voiceover. All right, let's talk for an hour and a half, and it's like, okay, that's. I mean, I don't know, but compared to other genres, I think voiceover in an adventure game, it's almost a must because it brings so much when it comes to to how the story is presented and how you can read up on what's going on, and maybe read the characters better and get to know them better and get attached to them and so on and so forth. Well, as if you would just read a text, and it's the connection is not there as much. But so since you were talking about the soundtrack, will it be offered separately from the game? Will that be an option?
Yeah, it'll be sold separately, or I think it'll probably be included with. Okay. I mean, as you can probably buy it as DLC on Steam. I don't know. We haven't quite worked out the details of that yet, but yeah, the soundtrack will definitely be available for purchase.
Okay, so let's talk about the platforms, the release platforms. So when is it coming on the Switch? I'm sorry, that's obligatory. Everyone's seriously, it's sorry.
Everybody asks that. AGS doesn't port to Switch, unfortunately. I wish it did, but it doesn't. I'd have to rebuild the project in Unity, and I'm not about to do that.
It's seriously, for me, it's like amazing to see how well it's amazing in the sense that, I mean, how many people do actually have a Switch that the question is asked so often? But apparently
I don't
there's
know
plenty of
anybody
people.
with
I
a
guess there's a
Switch.
few million, but I think I know one person. But it's the same thing. So like that jokey question aside, that's probably going to get me banned from Nintendo. Come on. Nintendo doesn't. They don't care.
Does anybody in the chat own a Switch?
What?
Let's do a poll here.
Uh,
If anybody's
That'll
in
be
the chat
cool,
and owns a
actually.
Switch,
It'll
please
be
let
like-
us know.
It'd be like type 1 for if you have a Switch. So what's the plan right now in terms of release platforms?
The plan is to have a simultaneous Windows Mac release. I think Linux is also planned for a simultaneous release, and at some point in the future, an iOS port. But the Windows release will be on.
No Android?
I don't think so. No, Android. There's not. I
Is
don't
that-
think
is
there's
that-
enough of a. I don't think there's enough of a market for Android users to justify the porting to Android.
Okay. Interesting.
I don't even.
So it's
honestly, I don't even
simultaneous
think
for-
there's. Yeah, I honestly don't even think mobile sales are as good as they used to be. So that's kind of why we're holding off and waiting for that. But yeah, as far as like Windows goes,
Well-
it'll be on Steam, and it's already on Steam. You can wish list it, and I believe it will be on GOG as well.
So link in the description. Okay, if there's no good old games page, I don't have anything to
isn't
do
one
with that.
yet.
But there's a link in the description below. Okay, that's good. But the Steam page, link in the description. You can wish list it there. You can check out videos and stuff and read up about the game. So yes, there's a link in the description. Always have to provide one. When actually I like providing one. It's like, yeah, look at the game, have fun, play it. Get it. So do you have a date for the release?
We just decided on one, but we haven't announced it yet. So what I can
Any
say,
region, like not specifically, but
September.
like within.
it'll be out
Okay.
in September.
2000 and.
September 2018, yes.
Okay, good. Just checking. I don't know. I mean, you could be on
Yeah.
Valve time. I don't know. Like,
No, I can't afford to be on Valve time. I wanted to have this
it's okay,
game
it just
out
needs to-
on July. I wanted to have this game out this coming week of July 23rd, but that obviously did not happen. So, yeah. It's the reality
You know what,
versus
it's-
your naive expectations.
just release a statement. Our team is gonna work to improve the game for this last. We're just gonna push back the game a little bit because we want the best experience for our players, and obviously a sense of accomplishment and whatever.
Well,
Whatever
yeah, the
bullshit,
trick, the trick though,
PR
is
stuff.
not to release or not to announce a release date until you're absolutely 100% sure that you can hit that release date, because then that way you don't have to walk back and say, "Oh no, we didn't," which is why we didn't say anything. I just had that date in my mind as kind of my personal goal, but then, but September is much more realistic, and yeah.
So you're telling me that you don't want to put the game on Steam with the release date and then delay it by a week and then delay it by a week and then delay it by a week, so it always stays on the upcoming list?
Is that a thing people do?
Yeah, that's a thing people do. Yeah, unfortunately.
I hadn't.
And
I
they
had
get
no idea.
they get criticized for it. It's like
Well, I
is
mean,
this
they
game
should.
coming out? It's like, nah, next week. Well, yeah,
What was that?
I'm not complaining on that. I'm just saying that. Yeah.
Not to name names, but what was that RPG that was in development for like 20 years or something, and then it kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and then I think it finally came out, and then nobody talked about it.
RPG.
Yeah, it
RPG. That's interesting because I don't remember any RPG. I mean, RPG.
It was also like
Really?
a pixel art RPG that it was one guy working on it, and I think he'd been working on it for something like 20 years or something like that.
I really don't remember.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know
Again,
if
it came out, I think, finally, and then nobody talked about it.
Yeah?
But it was like, oh, it finally has a release date, and then it got pushed back for like a week, and then another week, and then, yeah.
Well, you know what? we've been through Duke Nukem Forever, so at this point,
Oh yeah, for sure.
you don't care as
look,
much after
Jason
you've
Vole
lived through Duke
says-
Nukem.
Yeah. Sorry.
This is like
we
Gabriel
have a-
Knight.
Yeah, we have a little bit of a lag, so I feel like I'm interrupting you constantly. But yeah, Jason
No,
Vole, this
no,
does
that's
look
fine.
like Gabriel Knight, and I mentioned before I ripped off the aesthetic of the close-up portraits because I think it's really well done, and I think it works well for a detective game where you have to interrogate people. So that's why it looks like Gabriel Knight.
It's an homage. It's not. This
Yeah, I
is
mean, I
not a
take that as a
clone. This is not a Gabriel Knight clone.
No, I take it as a compliment
yeah,
because
to be fair,
I
yeah.
love Gabriel. So
When was the last Gabriel Knight? Was there anything this century released? 'Cause I don't
no, the
remember
last
anything.
Gabriel Knight came out in 1999, and it was terribly blocky 3D, which I don't think has aged very well.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, well, it was 99, but yeah, good game. It looked good. Yeah. Well, Lamplight City looks a lot better than any Gabriel Knight. Come on, that's for sure.
Oh wow!
Then again,
that's-
different times, obviously.
Oh, that's
What?
Wow,
No?
that's- you're gonna make me. You're gonna
Wait.
make me blush. That's a super high compliment.
Wait,
don't
but
think it
that's
looked-
isn't that obvious for everyone? What?
I
Really?
think the first Gabriel Knight looks better than Lamplight City. I mean, it was done by professional artists, and I'm not a professional. Well, I guess I don't know. I have imposter syndrome.
I've never
just the
been
guy
impressed
in
with
his-
the
in his house.
visuals of Gabriel Knight.
Okay.
Actually, that's perfectly fine. It's just, I mean, I was never impressed with it. I mean, okay, it's not, it doesn't look bad, Gabriel Knight. Well, I remember the last one. I think the 3D one awful, but even the older ones, I think I liked. Maybe I don't know. I was thinking of what was that game? That series? Jesus, I'm blanking out. With the blonde detective and the French girl. Oh, Jesus.
Broken Sword.
What's it called? Broken Sword. Yeah, I like Broken Sword 1 visually more
Yeah.
than any Gabriel Knight, actually.
Well, Broken Sword 1
So-
was also higher resolution. It was 640 by 400.
Yeah.
And it was like the
Yeah, but that was
sprites
old. I mean,
cell
that was
animations.
yeah. Yeah, but it was still of that time. It was still in that.
Yeah.
Because I think
course.
Broken Sword was 96 or 95.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was around at the same time as the Gabriel Knight series was going. So I like. I remember that more than anything else. And the
Yeah,
LucasArts
Broken Sword
things
was
look
that
like.
sort of middle period where they bumped up the resolution.
Mhm.
And yeah. Oh, thank you.
And they made two
Nathan.
decent games.
Yeah.
They made two decent games, and then
Mm.
it's like, yeah, they're like 5 Broken Swords, but it's like
Yeah.
the first 2 we remember. It's kind of like that. But
I remember the second one
Okay,
was the
so
first
let's-
time I felt disappointed
Sorry.
by a game.
I played. Yeah, it was not as good as the first one. I think that's.
Yeah.
I think a lot
It
of
felt-
people have that opinion. That
Yeah. It felt rushed and with
Rushed?
good reason because they put it out
Yeah.
in like a year after the first one. So, yeah.
yeah. I don't think it was. Maybe it wasn't even a year. It was something like 8-9 months, something like that. Because I think
something
maybe the first one came out in December, something like that, and the other one in the second came out in October the next year. It was anyway. But
I think
yeah,
you're right. Yeah,
I
'cause
agree.
remember I got the first one for Christmas in '96, and then I remember reading in like a magazine or something that the second one was due out in October, and I was like, wow, that was fast. So yeah.
Yeah, and even back then, you wouldn't make a game that fast. I mean, it's well, at least an adventure game, but
Yeah.
missed. See, okay, so let's talk a little bit about well, not the 90s. I mean, the 90s were fine. They're awesome. They were best 10 years of
They were gnarly,
in the
dude.
20th
They
century.
were radical.
they were you know what they had okay. You know what, in terms of the music they were great, in terms of the games they were great, technology not so great
Fashion
but-
also not so great.
because it was expensive. Yeah, fashion not so great, but it's compared to compared to the 80s, I'm sorry, but I'd rather
Yeah.
take the 90s fashion than the 80s fashion.
I guess.
I'm sorry, but leg warmers and that hair, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, like, come on. I'd rather take the thong song than any hair metal thing. I'm kidding. It's not. I'd rather have a like a rock ballad. But anyway, so let's talk about today. What are you playing anything today? Do you have any time for any games, adventure games or otherwise?
I have very little time for games. I'm looking forward to getting Lamplight City out so I can take at least a month off to catch up on my backlog. I'm currently playing. The thing is, I don't really play adventure games that much anymore. I usually just play games on my console. I've been playing God of War, and I've been really enjoying that on PS4. I think the last adventure game I played was Thimbleweed Park. And even then, it took me a very long time after it came out to play it. And it was all right. I enjoyed it for the most part. I hated the ending, but I enjoyed the game. Hey, look, it's Gibbous, a Cthulhu adventure. It's
yeah. No,
Don't
just
like
we don't talk about.
Ending?
We don't talk. Yeah, we don't. No, you don't say bad things about Rob, like Ron.
About Rob?
Ron Gilbert. Never mind. It's fine. He's Rob. For me, he's Rob. I know him personally. I'm kidding.
Rob,
I don't know him personally.
He robbed me of my money that I paid for Thimble. No, I'm kidding. That's. I don't want to start a fight, a war here.
Yeah, exactly.
I also played Paradigm, which is a very good adventure game made by a friend, Jacob Janerka. It's very good. You should check it out if you haven't played it. It's very zany humor. It's charming. It's humor, yes. But yeah, aside from that, I have a huge backlog of games that I need to play. I still haven't played The Last Guardian. And I still have to play Assassin's Creed.
That's still relatively new.
Yeah, but I feel like it took so long to come out. I should play. I have it. Sure. It's there. It's still in the shrink wrap. I just have to make the time to play it.
Wait, you didn't even unwrap it?
No, I got it in the mail and I put it on my shelf and there it is.
Oh, that's a little. Come on, mint condition. It's like just at least take it out. Just look at the CD or something, DVD.
Yeah, I don't know.
Temptation,
but,
yeah. Gibbous, you know what? I really want to try a Cthulhu Adventure too. They're actually from Romania too, and it really pisses me off that we haven't gotten together to sit down and talk about the stuff. They're in a different city, so I'll have to fly there to see them live. But the artwork. Sorry, I mean I know. Okay, Lamplight City. It's an awesome game. That's that's been established in an hour and 43 minutes. But
but Gibbous
the artwork of. No, it does actually look amazing. I really like it's like whoa. It's like
yeah.
I don't know. I was really impressed
stuff.
with the. Yeah, it's like a very small team too. Like maybe 3-4 people, something like that. It's amazing, and it's in Romania. It's not like it's a big gaming market or anything like that. So, but there's plenty of talent. So good for them. Can't wait for that to come out. I think it should come out this year. All right, so
well, I'm sure Levius
let's
can
not
tell
plug
us
other
more
games
in the chat. Oh, I like plugging other games.
Yeah. Well, you did. Okay, you know what? We've been talking about Lamplight City, and then you come out and say, "Yeah, I've been playing God of War."
Yeah,
so
I know.
No, you've been playing. Just tell me a little bit about the Adventure Jam stuff. About the games,
that's right. I did play the Adventure Jam.
Because that's.
I forgot.
Yeah, and you didn't count them, which is. But no, but
terrible.
it's.
I'm an awful man.
Okay, for someone. No, oh come on, no, not at all. But I want to say that it's. I play a lot of games. I have like 1,600 videos on my channel, so subscribe if you haven't, everyone. But the Adventure Jam is by far the most fun jam, and I think it has the best games coming out of it. So it's really amazing. So how can tell me a little bit about judging that?
Yeah, that was fun. It was actually really difficult to judge because there were so many good games. I did a stream where I played through all of them, and it took me 5.5 hours to play through the 10 finalists, and I really enjoyed all of them. My standout pick for my developer choice was I, Fair Lady, because I have a soft spot for musical adventure games, and I've wanted to see, and it was just charming and funny, and it was great. But like, all of them were great. I loved Alluvium was really good. It had this great.
Yeah,
It was like
Power Hoof.
it had me on the edge of
Mm-hmm.
my seat the whole time, and yeah, it was great. And the voice acting was really good too. Um, and I was really I felt kind of bad because when I played I forget what the name was, but it was the one that was set in Korea, and it was the three characters, or you controlled one of the characters, and like I played it and it was cool and everything, and I was kind of like, all right, that was cool. But then I learned after I played it that it was supposed to be a multiplayer game, and like you could play it with other people at the same time, and that was
Huh.
like its unique selling point, and I totally missed out on
And
that.
that was
I
made in
felt
a week.
yeah, in 2 weeks, and I was like, wow, that's actually
2 weeks,
really
sorry, yeah,
impressive.
2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, and so I felt bad
Mm.
that I was kind of like, when I played it, but then when I realized, I was like, oh, there's way more to this than I actually thought. Um,
Mm.
yeah, Ramp It Up was good, even though I saw the twist coming like from the beginning. But I teased Trolls about that because Trolls is a friend. Um, but yeah, I liked Ramp It Up a lot, and I liked all of them. I liked the last act. I really thought it was clever, and I thought it was really
Mhm.
funny. It was very dry, but it was also very funny. Like the main character was called Inspector Gros Cliche, which was hilarious.
Mhm.
And the music was amazing. Like I actually downloaded the soundtrack because I was so impressed by the music that they did it in 2 weeks. And I sent a sample to my composer. I was like, "Listen to this. I want you to do something like this." So
Hmm.
I told him to do a waltz for like one of the ambient tracks in Lamplight City. So that'll hopefully be in there
Mm.
soon. Um, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. I know I haven't named all the games, but I'm struggling to remember all of
Well,
the
they're
other
like
ones.
67, so 65 or
Yeah.
something. So yeah,
Well,
that's a lot.
there was
But
10 that
it's
I
mm,
played, but yeah, even those 10. Oh, there was also
mhm.
the one Who I See, which I thought was interesting too. Um at first I was kind of like hesitant about it because it was all placeholder art and there was no animation or anything, but it was actually really clever and well written,
Mm.
and it was one of those classic cases of don't judge a book by its cover. Um
Mm.
so yeah, it was all of them were really good.
I feel bad for not remembering the name. There was
Oh, there was the one with the ghost
that
cat
game. It's from
that was cool too.
that was really cute. That was cute. It
Yeah.
wasn't okay. Whoever made the game, I'm sorry for criticizing it a little bit. The puzzles weren't I wanted a little bit more difficulty, but it's adorable. The game is adorable. The visuals are adorable. No,
Yeah, and I
no
mean,
complaints there. I just wanted
yeah,
like tougher puzzles. That's
I can
the only
forgive
thing
the
that I have to
complexity,
criticize there.
considering that it was made in
Yeah,
2 weeks.
right.
So,
Yeah, yeah. And it's I don't remember the name of the game with the squares, and you play the square, and then it was like black and white. I'm sorry, Galoso Games. Sorry for not remembering the
oh,
name.
I still
I'm
need to play
sorry.
that one.
And
Yeah, they
I
were like, okay,
really,
can you
really
check
like
out
that
my
one,
game?
and
Yeah, and I haven't had
yeah,
time to
no,
check it
but I
out.
was,
I even was like, oh, I'll make time
but
this weekend, and I didn't because I'm a terrible person.
no, come on. But it's seriously that jam. If that jam doesn't prove that, first of all, there's a lot of talent, and when it comes to this genre, and a lot of potential there, then I don't know what it does. Because
Mm,
again, for a relatively a niche genre,
hmm.
there's so many nice, cute, but smaller, right? Smaller in terms of, the budget, the marketing, obviously, adventure games that just go unnoticed. But if someone likes the genre, if you like adventure games, look online a little bit, search a little bit on Steam, search a little bit on itch.io, definitely follow Francisco, and there's so many examples of good smaller games. It's incredible. You wouldn't have time to have a break really
Mm,
from
yeah.
playing any adventure games if you actually went through all of them, and a lot of them are really good. So I don't know. I, I can't wait for the next year's adventure jam. That
Mm.
should be awesome. Yeah, I can't wait another Yorkshire adventure. Probably set
Yeah.
in Sweden next. We'll have to see.
No,
Yeah.
she says she's gonna
Well,
keep doing Yorkshire. So
oh, I mean, I can't wait for episode 2. Come on, that should be super exciting. I can't.
yeah.
Charlotte is really, really talented. So hopefully we get to see more. So maybe we can wrap it up. Just a few words for
Yeah, sure.
closure.
Yeah, so you've been watching Closure.
Anything, absolutely.
That's good. Yeah. Are you're still playing?
Well, yeah, obviously.
You are playing this live, right?
Mm? Yeah.
Okay, so you just asked him about poisoning. So let's wrap up actually, so we can show how you can get one of the endings. Did you go visit? I wasn't really paying attention. You went to go visit Sabine Martin, right?
Yes.
Did you look behind her curtain?
Yeah. No, I didn't. That's the whole.
Okay.
I didn't look behind the curtain. No.
All right. So you just asked this guy about.
Is there something?
Well, I want you to get the like premature, not so great ending, so we can show anybody watching how you can screw up a case. So I'm trying to remember
they're gonna talk to her.
Actually, should we accuse the wrong guy, or should we just declare the case unsolvable?
Unsolvable. Why not? Like
Okay,
let other people solve it. I mean,
All right,
screw that. I have bills to take.
Okay, show me your casebook real quick so I can see where we're at and I can figure out if we can actually declare the case unsolvable at this point.
Yeah, I just barely question the people.
Okay, so you haven't been inside,
too early.
but you know about the tomb. All right, so
Yeah.
First things first, go to. Okay, so we're at the manor. Go inside the manor and go inside the. Go upstairs, and go to. Go to the second door upstairs, and look at the papers on top of the desk. Oh, yeah, okay. And then we can come back and talk to him afterwards.
Yeah, so we got the key for the.
So yeah, you'll find the key to her place there.
Secret apartment.
Right, the secret apartment. All right, so now go back downstairs and talk to Andrew. So we know that you have to find the pills for him.
Something for him to. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many times have you played through all of this? Just so we're clear.
Too many. I played through the prologue.
Yeah.
I played through the prologue at least like 500 times. No exaggeration. You don't have to talk to him about anything. Just end conversation and you'll get the comment.
Yeah. Did I get? No, I didn't get the comment.
Yeah, well,
because it doesn't say that I have to find.
Oh, it doesn't in the casebook?
No, look, it says question residents, investigate
right.
tomb,
I think,
investigate the rented room.
I think you get the thing if you talk to Dr. Fellows about it. But you don't really
because he's like...
Yeah,
What did you give him, man?
You did get the letter, though, from the bookmark upstairs, right? Or not? There's a letter in a book in the workstation upstairs.
Oh, I don't think I did get... Wait, I don't think I got that... Wait, did I get that ever? In the bookcase upstairs.
Not the
bookcase where the...
The workstation in the music room.
Ah, okay, wait. Oh, right, from the... Right. Yeah, I remember. The letter with about the peels.
Yeah, that's
about
what
them
gives you the
peels.
clue about where to find them. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So take the
Done.
letter.
Find the stimulant.
Yeah. All good. Don't worry about the tweezers because you're not going to need them. And
I'm still taking them.
Okay,
it's an adventure game. I take everything.
Fair enough.
It's an adventure game. You're supposed to take everything, especially screwdrivers if you find them.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
That's a cliche.
All right. So for now,
super cliche.
Go to the Martin residence again. And ask her to make you some tea.
Where is she? Compton. Of course, she's Strel Compton. I can't believe you actually put that in. It's like, really? It's like, really, a black family in Compton.
Association. I did Compton because I thought Compton something else. I don't remember why, but it definitely wasn't straight out of Compton. Oh, there we go. You did it already. There you go. You asked her for tea and you left. Okay, cool. So you've already done the screw up. All right, cool. So you screwed up that lead because now you can't look behind her curtain. And all right, so you can leave now.
Yeah, I can't.
And you can go to Juliet's room. Actually, wait, no, I'm sorry. Go to the cemetery and talk to the officer and do the whole shtick about talking to Upton and getting him out of the way, and then get the pills from the tomb and all that jazz.
Okay, so I need the pills. That's the important.
Yeah, you need the important thing is to get the
pills.
Yes.
Right. Bastard. You know, is he going to overdose or something? Is that like one of the options that you're gonna freaking overdose?
No, there's no option to make him overdose. I'm sorry to say. Well, I'm not sorry to say.
Okay.
But yeah, go to Upton we're speed running here.
And then that's fine. I mean, for anyone who wants to see a slower descent through madness, and I think that's a reference to something. Then you can,
Which outcome did you get in your original playthrough?
Well, I got. What do you mean, which outcome? Well, okay, so
what solution to the case did you get?
Well, I found that she was, killing. She killed two of the servants, and I pleaded. Yeah.
All right. So you found the okay. All right. So you got the best. You got the best outcome for the case, basically.
Well, obviously, because I'm.
Yeah. So now you're gonna get the worst.
I'm a good boy.
Get the worst. Now you can see the opposite and get the worst outcome of the case.
But who wants the worst?
Well, some people like to go through and play and get everything purposefully wrong. I like to do that because you can see what exactly happens and what doesn't happen.
Well, the first time I played, I saved obviously beforehand, right? And I went too far with the kid's mom, with the voodoo priestess. I call her voodoo priestess. That's
well, she is.
I call her, but because I mean, I wanted to see what she says, and she's like, "Oh, that's not a good thing. I'm gonna load and do something else." All right, so we got the pills.
All right.
Yeah,
you got the pills. Right, so go back and give them to Andrew, and
give him the pills.
Yeah, when you get the dialogue options, choose the one about reporting him to the police, reporting his illegal activities.
Oh, okay. Oh, I think I've done that in like on my own, late at night.
How many times have you played?
Actually, I was playing. This 3 times.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, twice before the live stream and once for the live stream. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I like adventure games. What can I say?
No, that's cool. I mean,
okay,
it's a game that affords replayability, so that's
Yeah. Yeah, and I like to try. I didn't get. I definitely tried this option, but I saw that he didn't. The result wasn't great, and I was like, okay, let's try something else. So the highly legal one.
Yeah.
Report the police, right?
Yep.
Okay, that one.
So now that you've done that,
I threatened him, and then he doesn't want to talk.
Right. So with doing that, you closed off your lead to finding another character, and you've basically screwed up. So you've screwed up your possibility to find both Jean and
the parent
and Juliet.
Yeah.
So that's actually, let me check my notes so I can make sure that you've done everything that you need to do to declare it unsolvable.
Because Upton says we haven't had anything.
Yeah. So you asked her to make the tea, and you left without looking behind the curtain. All right, so go now to the rented room and check out the ethericity machine, or the notes on the wall, actually.
Okay. Sorry, it's here.
It's yes, the plant.
I like this room.
Yeah. In the close-up, you have to go to the close-up of the table. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
look at the.
Right, and then
go at flies.
Yeah, so then go back and ask her about her experiments, and
Oh, and accuse her of something or something, right?
yeah, when she
And
asks you
make
how
it
you
like
found
a bad
her
thing
room,
that she
yeah.
cheated or
Well,
something.
no,
Oh, right,
when
that, yeah.
you yeah, when she asks you how you found the thing, you tell her that you found a key in her room, and she'll get mad that you were snooping through her things, and then
Mm,
she won't tell you anything about that, and then that'll close off that lead, and with that,
right.
it should declare the case
Okay.
unsolvable.
So I found a spare key in your room, and she's gonna be like, "Oh my god, my privacy."
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Private thoughts. And conversation, and maybe this should be it.
Then you
Oh,
should
I'm
get
starting to think we're closed off all of pertinent leads. We should probably get back to Opt and let her know. Okay. So
yeah,
so
and
Bill actually tells me that I'm a dumbass.
yeah,
Great.
yeah. So now the
It's
case
like,
is officially unsolvable.
am I going to drink myself like to sleep because I'm such a bad
No, I
detective
mean
now?
no. It's he'll have a little moment of self-reflection and shame, but there's not a huge. I mean, it's only case one, so there's just a slightly different
Hmm.
set of
It's
dialogue
all been dead
options.
ends.
Yeah.
Okay. It's all been dead ends. He's lying.
Well,
Well, I mean, if he dies, if Martin dies, he dies. You know, it's like, yeah, justice can't be served every time. Yeah,
sure.
but I can't get compensation, so that's bad. That's bad.
Yeah,
That's not good. I
he's
need
not gonna
money
have.
for my drug problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even the best detectives have a bad day. Wow, she's
Yeah,
really
which I.
supportive. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, she gets a
That's
little bit
nice.
more less supportive as you solve. If
Oh,
you
dead
declare any
end.
more cases unsolved, she's like, "Yeah, are you sure you don't want to take a break? Maybe you didn't. Maybe you shouldn't be
Really?
doing this detective thing." Yeah.
Wow, bitch. Unbelievable. You scrub a
Harsh.
few cases. First of all, she's C Upton, and I was expecting Kate Upton, and and I see her, and it's like, I'm sorry, you're not her. Like, I'm kidding, but it's like, I'm sorry, I really thought that it was like, references or something with the Compton thing and the Upton's like, what? Okay, but
No.
so yeah, I got the unsolvable achievement, which
Oh, good.
I do I live with the shame now?
Well, I mean, you
Or
don't have to live with the shame. You can be happy that you get all the achievements. That's something to aspire to, right?
but I left the man in prison, although he's innocent.
Well, that's true. That's true. And you'll
I should feel
if
bad
you
about
read
that.
it yeah, because if in the next case when you read the paper, you'll see an article about it, and it'll say that he was hanged for his crimes. So you should feel bad about
Really? Wow. Exactly. So why did you make me do it?
Well, to
Jesus.
show you that it was possible.
See, that's right. See, adventure games. When Polygon and Kotaku write that games make people violent, Lamplight City. This is just another example of how games make people do horrible things. Because they've never done horrible things until the freaking adventure games came along.
It's true, because adventure games teach you that stealing everything is all right, and that in order to get places you have to lie and trick people and deceive everybody. Adventure games are the worst offenders of these terrible crimes.
You know what?
Crimes.
Funny that you say that. If you can, when you have the time after you finish all this, look up a game called Port Valley. It's an adventure game that's in development right now, and there's a demo. And your character literally, it has like a billion fourth wall breaking stuff in it. The demo is like super long, like an hour and something. And your character literally says, "Oh, yeah, this is stealing, but this is an adventure game, so it's fine." It's like he says that multiple times. Yeah, because it's very self-aware, but it's a really funny thing, and I really like that. And it's true. In adventure games, you literally can steal without almost any consequences. Maybe, the worst thing you can do is have to distract someone to do something illegal or to steal for them. So that's yeah. So adventure games, everyone, don't let your children near them, because it's let them watch MTV and listen to Ariana Grande, but adventure games, no.
Okay. Don't. Yeah.
Uh,
This is completely.
So yeah, we left a
antithetical
man
what
to
I want.
die.
You left a man to die, and you're talking to yourself when your wife comes home and she catches you. So there's things are not going so great right now.
And I like to her too, yeah. Now, if for anyone watching, if you want to, make a better job, do a better job at detectiving, and be a better husband and a better detective and a better human being in general, then Lamplight City coming out in September, just wishlist it on Steam. There's a link in the description. You can wishlist it there, and whenever it's out, Steam will notify you, and they'll be like, hey, a game that you wishlisted was released, and you'll be like, Lamplight City, I remember this one. Is the game where I can be an awesome detective, and not let people to hang like that crappy YouTuber from I don't know, Hungary or something, from Budapest. It's like, wait, Bucharest, like Budapest, fuck off, I don't care. Like, yes, Bulgaria. No, sorry, that's the south. Sorry, I'm kidding. It's just it's a joke, because there were some stars that came around here. Well, some musical, like music artists, and they were like, they were literally in the concert in freaking Bucharest, and they were like, good evening, Budapest. And they're like,
oh, no.
What? Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So yeah,
I guess.
Nobody's coming to Lamplight City though, so because it's well, who's gonna concert there? I mean, there's crime. There's a detective who talks to ghosts. People are getting killed. There's a guy who still. Well, there are people who steal lilies apparently. So yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of still. There's even more. I mean, we've dealt with attempted live burial, but there's even more sinister things to deal with. We're going to be dealing with child kidnapping. We're going to be dealing with spontaneous combustion. We're going to be dealing with cold-blooded murder. Yeah. There's tons of stuff. We're going to be dealing with a mass murder. Oh, man, there's so much more to look forward to. So much more just sinister, terrible things.
Yes, and at the very end, you'll have a guy and take off the mask and be like, "Oh, I would have gotten away if it wasn't for." Exactly. Oh Jesus. Oh my God.
Bill.
You know what?
Bill didn't actually die. He's.
Well, you know what? That actually makes sense to me. That he actually, and you're not crazy. You're seeing. Well, you are crazy. Miles is crazy. The character is crazy. But Bill actually didn't die. He just faked his own death, and he's actually the Lily thief.
He was sick of police work, and he just decided that he wanted to become a criminal, and so he faked his own death. And He liked partying too much, and he thought, you know what? Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because the voice actor for Bill, and he also plays the flower shop burglar, so technically he is the same person, but he's not actually in game the same person. So
confirmed. I don't know. For me, it's confirmed. Bill is alive. And he's in Vegas doing like hookers and blow and coke.
He's in the alternate version of Vegas, which is, I don't know,
right,
somewhere else.
New Vegas. He's in the Fallout. Sure. He's in the Fallout universe, basically. Yeah, because for anyone who doesn't know. No. So for people who don't know, Lamplight City is in the same general universe as Fallout. Now Bethesda did, offer to buy off the Lamplight City IP, but obviously they would ruin it and they would make a first-person adventure game, which, come on, would suck because no one has first-person adventure games. Never mind The Initiate. That's the exception. Never mind, because there's a game called The Initiate and that's first-person. Never mind.
I don't know. So yeah.
So everyone, if you were they first-person?
Yeah.
No, they weren't first-person. Really?
Well, I mean, the later ones, the Crimes and Punishments and The Devil's Daughter and I think Jack the Ripper, they gave you the option to play in first or third person. But originally, the Sherlock Holmes Nemesis and The Awakened were both first person.
Oh, don't remember that. I remember only third person. Okay. Alright. So, Lamplight City 2, Unreal Engine 4 based, first person. And yes, you will get cameos from Fallout. You will get to visit Vault 75, previously, unknown in the actual canon of the Fallout series. But that's coming on later. If you want to support Lamplight City 2, since set in around Vault 75,
It'll also
then
be on the Switch, by the way.
It's also coming over the Switch. Yes, obviously, it's the launch platform.
And the Ouya.
It has a 6 months. Oh Jesus, no! Please, no, that's so bad. What
And
I
the
mean,
Raspberry Pi.
when you know what? Actually, well, on the Raspberry Pi, there were actually people who would play it on the Raspberry Pi compared to the freaking Ouya. That was such an immense and predictable failure. It's unbelievable. But that's what can you do? It's like give your money to a Kickstarter, 8 million. It's like, poof. It's like, see this money? I have a pen. I have 8 million. Nothing. That's how it works. People have pens, and then that's it.
I love how this
so everyone check out.
It's a complete madness at this point. This is great.
Well,
I wish more interviews were like this.
so you're. Okay, so first of all, you're making a game where the main character in your game, the game you created and almost did everything for it, talks to a dead person.
That is a good point.
And you're please. Okay, so Descent to Madness, it should be like an everyday thing for you.
It should be, and
You should demand that.
Crazy as the development of this game continues on and on. I'm stressing out and getting progressively more insane. So I think it's appropriate. I'm not talking.
Yeah, but until September you'll be fine.
Yeah,
that's good. But until September you'll be fine. Come on, it's the summer. You have the sun out. It's warm. I mean, if you would have to, make the game until January.
Yeah, the sun is out, but I'm not enjoying it because I'm stuck indoors working on this game. So.
Yes, but you have the option. You can see it outside. It sees you. The sun sees you. It's like Bill, except he doesn't talk to you. So it's what, you get your vitamin. You know what? That's really important. I'm not kidding. This is like a psychological thing. Having access to natural light improves the general mood of an individual. So the fact that it's summer, it makes it so it's less likely that you would go totally insane while finishing Lamplight City. If you would have to finish it in January or February, then you'd have to go through winter, and then everyone here would be, concerned, and we wouldn't be asking, about what games you play. We would say, Francisco, this is an intervention.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing
care
I don't
about
live
you,
in the Southern Hemisphere.
And well, oh yeah, actually, well, it's not that bad actually, depending on where you are. Actually, what am I saying? Of course it's better, because it's like, screw the weather. It's like you live in New York. I mean, go to freaking Venezuela right now. Like, oh, great. It's like, this is socialism. Congratulations, Venezuela I can't make a game. Never mind. Or Argentina.
It's still in the northern atmosphere. I'd have to go to like Chile.
Really?
Or, yeah.
Really? It is? Are you kidding me? Really? It is in the northern hemisphere? Wow.
It's above the equator, yeah.
Really? Wow, that's such a Venezuela. You disappoint me on so many levels right now.
Oh my god.
Really? Okay, we're gonna put Argentina then, because it's Argentina is a lovely country. A lot of people with a lot of that one. But the cool thing about Argentina is that there are quite a few very talented game developers there that I've seen some titles from them, so you would be in a good group. No, I'm not kidding, that's actually true. But I'm not actually, this is actually true. And there are a lot of in Mexico, a lot of Spain is coming up with a lot of coming up, as in for the last 5-10 years. But it's the hubs are getting bigger and bigger, so it wouldn't be that bad. But yeah, you would get less sun, less vitamin D, obviously, and that's bad for you, and all the stuff. Yeah. So any closing thoughts?
I'm hungry. That's a closing thought. I haven't had breakfast.
Oh my god, you're supposed to plug your game! Okay.
Oh, right.
Okay, Lamplight. Okay, you're supposed to plug your game.
Okay,
say people follow you.
Alright.
Jesus.
Sorry. I'll turn on marketing mode. Sorry. Lamplight City, a detective game where it's okay to fail. As you saw, we just failed the first case. We declared it unsolvable, and it's okay because we still were able to just declare it unsolvable and move on. Well, yeah.
This person actually died.
A person died, but
But that's
I mean,
like that's the failing. That's the failing part.
Yeah,
we
that's
proved
what we
it.
failed.
Yeah.
We failed to we failed to correctly absolve the falsely accused man. Oh well, you know, I mean, he might not have been falsely accused though. We didn't investigate enough to be able to determine that. But yes,
But that's
we
the
did let a
thing, we
man
don't
die.
know.
No, we don't know, and that not knowing, the guilt of not knowing will haunt us for the rest of our days. But if you want to do better, yes, you can check out Lamplight City. You can follow me. I'm at Grundislav Games on Twitter. You can follow me, and you can follow my incessant tweets about Lamplight City. You can follow the link in the description below to the Steam page where you can wishlist the game should you choose to do so. You can check out lamplightcity.com, which is just a nice page with some screenshots and a description of the game, and it also has all the pertinent links you need. And yeah, that's about it. I mean, thanks for playing, and thanks for doing this stream and this interview. Like, it's very nice to know that there's people that are still interested in this sort of thing.
I mean, I'm sorry, but okay, anyone who plays games who's at least 20 years old, if I show them a screenshot of Lamplight City and they're not at the very least interested in the game, interested in seeing what it is about, finding out more of it, then those people are not real gamers. I'm kidding. Jesus. Just chillax. Everyone chillax. You know, because it's the real gaming thing. No, I'm kidding. But it's, you know what, if you like adventure games, check it out. And one of the cool things that, you know, we didn't mention it because it's an IP thing, you know, there's discussions and stuff. When you fail in a case, your character will be so disappointed that you will have Bill transform into Green Arrow, and he will be right in front of you, looking menacing like, you know, Stephen Amell, and he will say to you, "You have failed this city," and that's it. So that, how awesome that is. You have Arrow in Lamplight City. That's like DC Universe, Lamplight City. That's, I thought that was the DLC. Are you kidding me? Wait, is that going to be included in the full game? I thought that was the post-release DLC.
I don't even know anymore.
No? Okay. Okay, so Francisco definitely needs to eat. I kept him long enough, but you know, thanks for that. Did you just say yes to I kept you long enough?
No,
Jesus!
I said yes to the,
wow.
I said yes to the eating thing. See, this is the problem in which we have the lag.
Right.
Is that my responses come at awkward times, and so you think I'm saying terrible things when I'm not.
Yes, blame the lag, of course, blame the lag.
To eat.
So, but true, everyone needs to eat. So everyone after this, wishlist the game on Steam. Eat, have a nice time, it's weekend, and obviously freaking subscribe, because I'm this close to 1,000 subscribers and getting monetization back. And if you want anyone to actually, you know, do more interviews like this and hopefully do better, and you know, Francisco will probably, you know, not want to come again and talk about Lamplight City too. It's okay, it's alright. I'm not crying. I don't feel bad. But seriously, subscribe if you haven't. For anyone watching, if you're a subscriber, click on the notification bell. Check out the channel, because I'm going to put up a gameplay video later today of a Ride to the Stars, which is another adventure game. It's more of a puzzle adventure game though. No inventory, which is interesting, just like Lamplight City. So someone copied off someone else. I hear something happened here, but no, it's a totally different game. Blade Runner
so it's all just everyone's copying off everyone else.
Huh. Really? Are you of that mindset that, you know, everything's like there's nothing original anymore?
Yeah, pretty much.
Really? I don't know. It's just, I mean, I understand the mindset, but I mean, I think there's plenty of creativity still.
Oh no, there's plenty of creativity.
Not in Hollywood, but
no, you can argue that everything has pretty much been done. It's just putting interesting spins on it. That's all.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, true. I don't know. I just think there's still, you know, it's like AI can't beat us. Come on, humans have too much potential. Right? Yeah. I'm kidding. Yeah, actually, I'm not. So everyone, check out Lamplight City. Seriously, last time, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to support me in other ways, there's no Patreon pages yet, but you can use the affiliate links in the description below. I have Amazon and Humble Store affiliate links. So if you ever at any point in time in your lifetime, get games from the Humble Store, or erotica, because apparently they had that too in a bundle. Okay, or or like erotic. No, it was actually erotica, gay erotica. Okay. Or if you buy anything from Amazon, please use the links. It helps me out, and it costs you absolutely nothing. So it's just 2 seconds to bookmark a link. That's it, and you help me out, and hopefully we'll get to see no more Lamplight City this September. Live stream launch day. No pricing yet. Nothing on that front.
$14.99 is the expected retail price.
Okay, $14.99. So that sounds really good for definitely over 10 hours of gameplay from what I've seen. So check it out again. Link in the description. Thanks so much everyone for watching. Thanks Francisco for being here for such a long time. I'm sorry for that.
No problem.
For keeping you. And everyone, what can I say? What else? Oh,
goodbye.
Have an awesome weekend. And have an awesome weekend. Have an awesome weekend. Bye.
And call your mother. She misses you. Goodbye.